WWE SmackDown vs. Raw 2006 came out on the PlayStation 2 late last month, and now it's out on the PSP. And lo and behold, it's pretty much exactly the same game as the PS2 one. Graphics have been scaled down minorly. There's actually a couple of little differences here and there, like there's no online play, but there's these really weird mini games that have kind of been tossed in to sort of try and give it, the game its own kind of unique flavor or whatever. But for the most part, this is, brick for brick, the same game as it was on the PlayStation 2. The gameplay here is very much the same. It has all the same upgrades and mechanics that were put into the PlayStation 2 this game year. So you got like the whole stamina tracking feature, you got the whole thing with the momentum that sort of ties into your finishers, there's all the little things with submissions and, possum pins and all that kind of stuff. Everything's in there, gameplay-wise, and no control sacrifices whatsoever. Presentation-wise, the one thing you're going to notice is the load times. They're kind of annoying. Like, the pre-match load times are kind of obnoxious because it takes a while to load the entrances, and then it takes another while to load the actual match. In the Create a Wrestler and Create a Belt modes and stuff like that, it's kind of really hard to deal with because it has to constantly load to new textures and all sorts of other stuff, and it really slows the pacing of trying to create a wrestler down, like, to a crawl. But everything else there looks the same. Like the graphics, maybe the player models are a little bit blockier, there's a little more clipping with like long hair and stuff, but they still look really phenomenal. The animation hasn't taken any kind of hit whatsoever, and the frame rate really actually does hold up very well on this version of the game. Features-wise, all the same match types are in there, including the new Buried Alive match, the Fill Your Fantasy match, all that fun stuff. The season mode is pretty much exactly the same as it was on the PlayStation 2, including all the different dialogue branching things. The GM mode is there. It's still kind of a flawed, interesting thing. It does kind of give you a nice base level way to sort of like manage one of the WWE brands and kind of, create your rosters, create your shows, that kind of stuff. Multiplayer is just ad hoc for up to 4 players, and there's no game sharing or anything, so you gotta have basically 3 other friends with the same game playing with you. But you can do stuff like trade wrestlers between games, do any of the different match types, that kind of stuff. The mini games are the one addition to the PSP version of the game, and they're basically worthless. There's a really kind of lousy trivia game, there's a Texas Hold'em game for some reason, and then there's also this weird mini game where you're trying to balance Eugene as he runs down to the ring, like flying like an airplane, because he's mentally challenged. Get it? Do you get it? These games are not fun, straight up. So with all that said, this is very much SmackDown vs. Raw 2006 from the PlayStation 2, kind of squoze down into a UMD disc. And that's a great thing because that game was pretty fantastic on the PlayStation 2, and it's cool to have it in handheld form. With that said, if you really already went out and got the game on the PlayStation 2, there's no real good reason to like run out and get it on the PSP because it's just another $50 for basically the same game and no particularly compelling content to pull you into this one. But if you held out, and you wanted this on a handheld specifically, there's no reason not to go with this version of SmackDown vs. Raw 2006.